Imagine stumbling home after a long day of work. You're exhausted. You have had no time for yourself. And the only thing that you could think about is getting to your door and getting you a fuzzy nail. You see, you and your wife or you and your husband are at the worst possible place that you could be, and that is heading for divorce. You're going to your favorite chair because sleeping in the bed is too painful. All you've been doing is coming home, peeling off your clothes one by one, heading to your favorite chair, and drinking fuzzy navels until you pass out asleep. Thank you so much. Man, y'all quick on the trigger with the timer, boy. That timer ministry is on point. It's just like, man, it's been we 15, we 20 seconds, 23 seconds in. No. Good to be here. This is Crump doesn't know that I was like, man, why you pick this topic? For me, I could talk about a lot of stuff, but this topic is crazy. Shout out to Nate Evans. I didn't know you was from Philly, bro. Well, you're not. You're from Jersey. Hey, right. I need them sneaks, bro. Sorry about your injury, and I'm glad to hear that you're healing. I didn't know Nate was from that area. So we're going to get started. We got a panel. We got Chizzy and Charles coming up, who both are going to add a ton of value. But I want to just share some things with you all briefly, and then we'll get to that panel discussion, right? So, anybody familiar with like Mad Dog 2020? Right, y'all know that, right? So I don't know if they still make this, but there was a adult beverage called Cisco. Yes. Do they still make that? Does anyone? Not that y'all should know, but does anyone know? No. Right. So take Mad Dog 2020 and my 4 or 5 exit, and you had Cisco. Then, if you make a peach flavor, it tastes real good, right? So you got something that is twice or 5 times as potent to me, but tastes way better, right? So now imagine taking Cisco and coupling it with orange juice. What do you have? Peach Cisco. What do you have? You do have that, but in a regular world, that would be called a fuzzy navel, right? And for the purposes of what we're about to do next, I want you to understand the fuzzy navel. All right? So I want you to put your phones down, put any electronics down that you have. I want you to push back from the table. Push back from your table. All right? I want you to put your feet firmly on the ground. I want you to sit as remember how your parents used to say, sit up at the table. I want you to sit up as tall as you can. Maybe put your hands on your lap. Now I want you to close your eyes. Close your eyes. And I want you to take a deep belly breath, not a chest breath, but a deep belly breath in. And hold it for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. One more time. Deep belly breath in for a count of 4. And we're going to blow it out for a count of 3, let's say. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3. We're going to do one more. And while you're doing that, I want you to center your thoughts on your stomach. Keep your eyes closed. Deep breath in. Count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. Keep your eyes closed. Imagine stumbling home after a long day of work. Whatever it is that you do, you're tired. You're exhausted. The day has been full of running here and there, doing this and that. You have had no time for yourself. And the only thing that you could think about is getting to your door and getting you a fuzzy navel. You see, you've been doing this for 3 or 4 weeks already. You come home and you start peeling off your clothes at the door. You see a pile of clothes because you've been doing it for weeks on end. You see, you and your wife or you and your husband are at the worst possible place that you could be, and that is heading for divorce. And the only thing that brings you comfort is a fuzzy navel. So there's that line of clothes that I want you to see from the door to your favorite chair. See, you're going to your favorite chair because sleeping in the bed is too painful. And so for these 2 or 3 weeks, all you've been doing is coming home, peeling off your clothes one by one, heading to your favorite chair, and drinking fuzzy navels until you pass out asleep. Imagine the feeling of drinking yourself to sleep every night so that you could avoid the pain of what you and your spouse are experiencing. Imagine the tears that you cry every night, wondering, how did I go wrong? Where did I go wrong? What could I have done differently? And imagine the most helpless feeling of not being able to do anything about it because she's not coming back. He's not coming back. No matter how much you change, no matter how better you respond to challenges and frustrations, they're not coming back. Now I want you to open your eyes. Tell me what you felt. Anybody? Hopelessness. Failure. Loneliness. What did I hear over here? Loss. Anyone else? Despair. Empty. What was that? Grief. Anxiety. Anger. Wow. This is it. This is why Shirley and I fight so hard in the paint. This is why when I'm on the prayer line, where's Charles? This is why you hear some of the things that you hear from me on the prayer line. Because I don't want you to feel anxiety and despair and grief and loss that comes with something that you can do something about. And at some point in time, I had to come to the place that it wasn't, I had responsibility, but it wasn't my fault. I had to talk myself off the ledge so many times to try to blame myself. And to be honest, I would never want anyone to go through that. It is the worst possible feeling that you can imagine. Because here, my wife reminded me of this analogy that I used. See, when you go, can anyone tell me when you have a family, a person that's close to you pass away, and you have to go to the funeral home to view, or why they have viewings at church? Does anybody know? Anybody? No answer is wrong. Pay your last respects. Anyone else? You do that so they can start the death and dying process. So you can see the person dead. And something happens cognitively and with your heart emotionally that says, okay, I can start the death and dying process because they dead. Now, imagine feeling the dead, but they still walking around. It's hard to move on from that. And I'm going to invite Charles and Chizzy up. This is what we're going to talk about. Gentlemen,
Yes, sir.
there is no phone between us. Charles, how you doing, bro? Actually, now that's an interesting way to respond to my I said, how you doing, bro? And you said, I am actually wonderful. Dive a little deeper. Tell me what that means for you.
It means that I'm at peace with where I am in this stage of my life. And that there was a point in time a couple months ago where I wasn't. So I'm just go right in.
Oh, please jump right. Hey, because you know another question was coming, but I'm like, okay, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it himself. Yeah.
So a couple months ago, my ex-wife now, we got a divorce, and that was hard. It was extremely challenging and difficult to go through. But through the grace of God and a lot of work, I'm actually at a place where I'm at peace. So I'm actually, we talked about this in the group. I had a friend of mine who used to call me and ask me, how you doing? I was like, I'm good. He actually called my grandmother when she was alive, and even asked her how I was really doing. And she told me about that. And I was like, that's deep. Like, why would you, why is that a problem? And then a friend of mine, Scott Hires, he's good at calling me and asking me how I'm doing. And he had called me, someone else had called me, and another person had called me, and they all asked me the same question. And because it was multiple people, I had enough awareness to stop and say, is there something going on with me that I'm not aware of? Because I know that I can answer the question, how are you? And I can answer it based on where I am right now, because I'm not dealing with it. So I'll say, I'm good. And I went home and I said, okay, how are you? And I just allowed myself to be still. And something rose up and I broke down. So when I say I'm actually good,
Yeah. You're actually good. That's good. Chiz, you and I have, by the way, so you all know, these two gentlemen, right? on some level, at some point in time, they was all, they both on the prayer line were like, "Dude, what's up with you, man?
Yeah.
Like, what is
Yeah.
going on?"
Shannon has the way of, so me and Shannon are twins in that he can dig through your soul through the questions that he asks. And sometimes you don't want Shannon to dig through your soul, but he's going to do it anyways, not because he's, being rude or disrespectful, but because he genuinely cares. And I've always loved you for that.
Oh, praise God, praise God. Cheers.
Listen, if you know Shannon, this guy is a powerful, amazing man. I see him. My father's here. My dad's here, and my son are here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Um, I say that to say that Shannon, at the phase I was at in my life, right there, when I first came to the prayer line, you gave me exactly what I needed to push me over to a particular trajectory, I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I will always, I've never publicly thanked you. I may have said it on the prayer line, but I will always love you and appreciate you and thank you for your candor, for your ability to just pull out what was needed out of me to get me to a space of where I am today. So I really openly want to openly thank you for that.
Oh man, praise God, praise God. I'm glad that I could serve you in that way. So in typical fashion, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Do, how have you managed in both of your individual spaces? How have you managed? Um, and Chizzy, you're far removed from where Charles is.
Yeah.
How have you managed just maintaining identity and self in the loss, really, of community? Like there, when you people don't understand when you lose, it's a whole lot that the kids get, right, and then church, you got to deal with church, and you got to deal with neighbors and community. How have you managed to maintain self in such a tumultuous environment?
There's only really one answer for that, to be honest. Um, that's the relationship, not with myself, relationship with my reaffirm the relationship with God, with my relationship with Christ. Um, Divorce, and this is gonna sound a little crazy. I feel like I'm a better version of me under these circumstances than I was when I was married. And this is not a slight to the relationship. It's more about the personal development that I've been able to achieve and the connectedness that I feel I have achieved through this entire process. And that doesn't mean that my children have that adversely affected by what takes place. It doesn't mean that every day I question whether or not I made the right decision. You and I talked a year ago,
Yes, I remember that.
and you told me I'm praying for you and your ex-wife, and that still resonates with me every day. And you know what that did for me? That said that I have to be even more intentional now in the space of separation and divorce, not just with my children, but with her as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And the only way I I I get to that place is by renewing my relationship with God and centering myself and doing intentional things to better me through counseling, through the prayer line, through Boy Man King, through the relationships I've established now. So for me, in spite of it being an amazingly horrible experience, it's been an amazing experience at the same time from a personal development space. Unlike Charles, you're just starting. I must say starting in terms of timeline, because healing,
Right.
there's no timeline to healing.
Right.
You know, but I can remember clearly being very very angry. You know this. I came on the prayer line like that,
Mm-hmm.
feeling entitled, feeling like I was justified.
Yes.
But I can tell you today, as you answer the question, you're good. I feel good.
Mm.
I feel good because I knew that I have a measurement for success. I have a tool. I have resources.
Mm.
I have brotherhood. I have God. I have my father, my children. They give me the motivation that I need to continue to build me up first. so that I can be best for them.
Mm. That's good. That's good, Chiz. Charles?
Same, uh, it was God, but one of the things that I realized was that my identity was wrapped up in my marriage.
Mm.
And when we got a divorce, like it was the weirdest thing because when we were going through the process, um, pulling away, trying to not express anger and all the emotions of the kid and things of that nature, you just kind of isolate yourself. And once we got divorced, uh, it was just like, yeah, I'm not gonna isolate myself from the kids, and I'm still gonna be there as much as I can, humanly possible to help and anything that I can do, for, even for her, in any way, shape, or form. But the thing that hit me the most was recognizing that I was living in idolatry because the marriage had become a part of my identity, and the removing of that had allowed me to see myself again and operate in accordance with who I truly am, regardless of the title I had. And that really helped me to recognize, like, regardless of whether or not I posted on Facebook the other day, I don't consider myself to be someone who is divorced. See, I got a divorce, but that's not my identity, right? And God being able to help me to recognize it doesn't matter what you've gone through, you're still my child. You still belong to me. And that really helped me to recognize that I'm not the different roles I play in life. I'm a human being who is an image bearer of God, who expresses himself in that role. And even though I'm not that role. So that's how I've been able to reaffirm and not re, but reestablish my identity by, recognizing that's not who I am, it's just something.
How close, and this is for both of you, how close of how accurate is the analogy of a divorce feeling like a death from your perspectives?
Yeah, I mean, my son's 21. So when you're, like you said, when your reality is shaped solely off of your identity of being attached to an individual, as we know in any relationship, even in death, there's a grieving process, there's a mourning process. Um, but it's, and again, this is my experience, obviously. I think that I'm fortunate in a lot of ways because, and hopefully this gives hope to anybody that's going through this and experiencing this, that there's a definite peace and tranquility post divorce. Um, I can go to my ex-wife's house currently and hang out, watch TV, spend time with the children, we talk, probably more now than we ever did ever before. And I'm not sure if that's because there's no emotional attachment attached to an expectation for the relationship, or it's because I know that no matter what, I still have a commitment, a desire to see her win, to see my children win, and that's through my efforts. So, in spite of it being a horrible, horrible thing to have experienced, the despair, the anger, there is definitely a hope. And I would just encourage you and anyone else that experiences it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating for divorce by any stretch of the imagination.
Definitely.
Because we know our God is completely opposed to divorce, in my view. Because to me, it kind of dismantles ultimately what He's trying to achieve. God's trying to achieve with the kingdom and with bringing people into His right. But there is a level of peace and hope that you can arrive to, but it requires work. It definitely requires work.
I just like experiencing a death. It's the exact same emotions that you go through of feeling the loss. You're not going to be able to see the things that you take for granted, and rightfully so, because it's abundantly there. The fact that you wake up and your kids and your wife is there, right? You get to see them all the time, every time you come home from work. Whether the relationship is good or bad, they're still there. There is something about being in the home that once you get a divorce, you don't have that. So the true weight of someone's, and I'll say it this way, there's a gift that we all have simply by our presence.
Yeah.
Like,
there's an energy, I like to call it an energy.
yeah, there's an energy, and that energy, there's something that we experience of simply just not being alone, right? And when you go through a divorce, you have to experience the loss of that presence, your kid's presence, your spouse's presence, and regardless of what you've gone through in terms of not liking each other, to almost to the point of hating each other, you still remember all the good times.
Yeah.
You don't. The pain comes when you realize you are no longer going to have the opportunity to have the good times that you once had when you were married, even though things didn't go the way you wanted it to. That loss is excruciating because you remember the dreams, the goals, the aspirations. You remember all that stuff doesn't go away. And you know now that will never be. And I think going to your point about the anger, that's one of the things that that was probably the last thing I struggled with. I was like, God, you gotta help me because I can't figure out why I can't. I forget it. Cool, I've done that. I'm not, but why am I still angry? And he's like, because you haven't accepted the fact that you still have to deal with the consequences of the choices that you made that's gotten you where you are.
The crazy thing about anger is it is a part of the death and dying process.
Yeah.
You go through that, and I think that just like you described, you're probably right where you needed to be then when you were having that conversation, and right where you need to be now. With our time wrapping up, I want you to just share from your perspective, in Malachi, I think it's Malachi 3, the third chapter. I could be wrong, but on that. But in Malachi, preachers like to use, will a man rob God? And wherein, the question is, wherein, how did I rob you? Right? And the word says, in tithe and offerings. So you hear that rehearsed often, that it's a bad thing to not return your tithe, right? In church. In that same chapter, it says God hates divorce. Speak to me about what you think, and try to give it to me in a minute, what you think about what you've experienced and God hating divorce.
I think I told somebody this the other day. This is probably the first time I said it. I'll probably say it publicly. If I knew then what I knew now, I probably wouldn't have done it, to be honest. I think given the experience, although it was horrible, to see the benefit of how transformative an experience can be when you first root yourself in God, I think I probably would have gone down a different path 5 or 6 years ago, especially seeing how it affects the kids. And we could talk for hours.
This is deep. When Crump said 30 minutes, I was like,
this is just scratching the
whoa.
surface. Yeah. We haven't got into breaking generational curses.
Right.
We haven't talked about, how kids internalize that separation from we haven't gone that deep in this conversation.
Right.
But I'm sorry to talk too much, but yeah, I probably would have taken a different path, especially now because I think we're cool.
Right.
I think we're good.
And
I'm in
you know you're a better version of you.
100%. 100%.
And if you showed up like you now,
100%.
then
100%.
like it would be the outcome,
Yes.
at least 50% of the outcome
For sure.
would be absolutely different.
Agreed.
Charles?
God hates divorce, but he loves me.
Mm.
That's good. And I went to some brothers when I first got separated and told them about my wife wanted to get separated and so forth and so on in 2020. And he said that can't be God because God, said let what God has put together, let no man separate.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to God and I said, God, that's what your word says. What you put together, let no man separate. That's what your word says. He said it does say that. But I'm not a man. I separate what I want. Oftentimes we think that just because you do something different, that the outcome is going to be different. If I'd have just did this, if I'd have just did that, if I'd have just did this. God is like, you're telling yourself a story when you could have done everything that you were supposed to do, and it still went wrong. We have a lot of preachers who say, when the man lines up, then the spouse will do whatever. God was like, I don't know who told you that, but that's not the truth. He said, go back into my word. Where was Adam, or rather, where was Eve, where was Adam out of alignment when Eve ate the fruit? He said, I'll do you one better. You are my bride. The humanity is my bride. Where was I out of line when you disobeyed, when you went your own way? He said, I do hate divorce, but I love you. And you have to stop trying to blame yourself for something that may not have anything to do with your particular decisions. There are some things that I'm doing that you don't know anything about.
Mm.
And you have to rest and trust and know that I am God, even in the midst of something as challenging as divorce.
Dun, dun, dun. Part 2 next year at the King Conference. Thank you two so much for this engaging conversation. Give these two a hand, you guys.